Governor Tom Corbett presented his plan for the fiscal year 2012-13 state budget to a joint session of the Pennsylvania General Assembly, which led to hearings being conducted by the House and Senate Appropriations Committees. As this process continues, let's spend 5 minutes with State Representative Mike Reese of the 59th Legislative District in Fayette and Westmoreland counties and get his impressions. Mike, what's your reaction to the budget proposal that Governor Corbett put forward?
It's a start. I mean, that's what the governor did. He basically kicked off the budget season with his address, and now it's our turn to take a look at what he is proposing. And, you know, ultimately the governor sets his priorities in his address, and now it's our turn to set our priorities. The one thing I will say that I really like is that Governor Corbett, unlike the prior administration, recognizes that there's only so much money out there. If you look at our revenue, it is down. And Governor Corbett appreciates that. He understands why the revenue's down. If you look at the sales tax and the personal income tax, it's down. Why is that? It's because people are making less and they're spending less. Government must live within its means. The governor clearly laid out a plan for fiscal responsibility with this budget. Again, he has his priorities, and I suspect we'll have our own priorities, but that's what this process is about. And really over the next couple months, the Senate and the House and hopefully the governor's office will come together and pass a responsible budget that is good for Pennsylvania this year and in future years that, you know, ultimately I think should be wrapped up by the June 30th deadline.
You had spoken last year at the end of the budget process about restoring fiscal sanity in Pennsylvania, and that perhaps last year's budget might have been a step in that direction. You see that continuing with this particular budget going forward?
Absolutely. Look, you know, the budget we passed last year really reset the spending in Pennsylvania, and that was very important. Again, prior to that, 8 years before, the administration from the past increased spending at a really unbelievable rate. If you look at it, he increased spending nearly 40%, while the rate of inflation was less than 19% in that same time period. So we more than doubled the rate of inflation with our spending. Last year's budget said, enough. We have to control spending. We've been out of control for far too long. That was our first step. This is a follow-up. And of course, we want to see revenue go up. We want to see the economy turn around. We want to see people spending more and, of course, making more. But quite honestly, at this point, they're not, and we have to live within our means.
And obviously, you referred to the fact that there's been overspending that's been going on for a long time. Right. This is going to take time to reverse that entire trend, isn't it?
It is. It is. And you know, I think it's very important to remember, Ray, that it wasn't just the spending that year, but it was also the borrowing of dollars that ultimately, you know, future generations are going to be paying back. Again, under the past administration, a program called RCAP, basically is a revolving credit card is what it really ultimately is. The debt for RCAP, that credit card, was raised 5 times. 5 times. We took on tremendous amount of debt. Now, most would understand that, you know, look, there are times when government needs to build a new building, needs to invest in some form of infrastructure. Those things are understandable. But under the RCAP projects, typically it's private sector business that is benefiting from this. So, you know, I think for most of us, we recognize that that needed to be reined in. And quite honestly, I think it's important to mention that just yesterday on the House floor, we passed a reform bill with RCAP, reducing the amount of debt that we can take on.
And obviously the budget is a process going forward, and it is going to take time to resolve. But your thinking right now is that it will be resolved on time, and you feel pretty good about that?
I have every expectation it'll be done by the deadline, just like it was last year. You know, it's our job to get a budget done on time. I don't see us not meeting that deadline.
Thanks for your time, Representative Reese.
Thank you, Ray.
If you have comments or questions about the budget or any other legislative topic, Representative Reese's contact information will appear on the screen in a few seconds. Thanks for joining us and spending 5 minutes with State Representative Mike Reese.